MP Sports presents from the National Hot Rod Association, Championship Drag Racing. Qualifying in Funny Car Eliminator at the 9th Annual NHRA Cajun Nationals Championships. In the far lane, John Collins from Long Beach, California. In the lane nearest the camera, Ed the Ace McCulloch from Sanger, California. Neither driver is qualified. Both men are concentrating, thinking only of performance, not of the possibility of danger. An incredible crash. Ed the Ace McCulloch climbing out of the wreckage of his car. There comes John Collins crawling from underneath the remains of his vehicle. And in the aftermath of the most spectacular crash we've ever seen, both drivers seem to be okay. Let's take a second look at this almost unbelievable turn of events. In replay, we see both cars leave the starting line side by side. Then, for some unknown reason, McCulloch loses control and slams into the side of Collins' car, forcing McCulloch's machine onto the top of the guardrail on the far side of the track. Collins turns over like a turtle. McCulloch, sliding upside down, crosses back over the track and slams head-on into the guardrail, the fuel tank exploding into a ball of flame which engulfs both cars and both drivers. As the two cars grind to a halt, the intense heat from the wreckage and fire shimmers ominously as the fuel tank on Collins' car pours raw fuel into the scene of the accident, which miraculously fails to ignite. But as the shock wears off, the drivers meet in mid-track. To our relief, we see that both are uninjured. Steve Evans was there.
John, first of all, you're okay?
I'm okay, Steve. Thank you. I appreciate it. That was quite some ride there. Both cars seemed to leave the line pretty good. My car was running on a really good run, and Ed pulled up alongside of me, and I looked out the side window. I could see him, and the next thing I seen is he drove right into the side of me.
You didn't waste any time getting onto the car. It looked like you kind of fell on your head in there.
Well, you know, I'll tell you, Steve, I skidded on my lid, I think, on the roof for I can't say how far it was, but I know it was a few hundred feet. And there was a little bit of fire underneath the car from my fuel tank, so I popped my belts and I just kind of wormed myself out of the car, but it wasn't fun.
The force of the accident left both cars totally demolished. John Collins resting upside down. Ed McCulloch's missing the entire body and the front end. Still has the driver's compartment and roll cage in good shape.
Well, Ace, the thing that drag racers dread the most is a two-car incident like that. And first of all, you're okay?
Yeah, I'm all right, Steve. I don't know, I really don't know exactly what happened. I mean, the thing, you know, it squirted on out there okay, and I mean, it made a right-hand turn, and I mean, when it left, I mean, there was no correcting it. Yeah, I don't know.
John's okay, by the way.
Yeah, first thing I did when I got out down here is I went and saw John, and you know, I'm glad he's not hurt. I'm glad I'm not hurt, but, you know, it's just something that, you know, you just really takes the wind out of your sails, you know.
I'll bet it does. So Ed McCulloch is obviously okay, as is John Collins.
John Collins and Ed the Ace McCulloch, two very fortunate race drivers. A huge crowd is jammed into State Capitol Dragway near Baton Rouge, Louisiana for the 9th annual running of the NHRA Cajun Nationals Drag Racing Championships. Hello, everybody. I'm Dave McClellan, and the excitement that we've just witnessed is only part of the story of this Cajun Nationals. To find out more about the action, let's join Steve Evans.
And Dave, the big story so far in funny car action, other than the frightening one you just showed us, has got to be the hometown favorite, the Candies and Hughes car. I like their chances, not just because Mark Oswald is a fine driver and qualified #1, but because the chief mechanic, Leonard Hughes, has been tuning cars in this thick, muggy Louisiana air all of his drag racing life, some 25 years. Next on my funny car tip sheet, Billy Meyer. Meyer had his problems last year, but he's back with a vengeance. A new wind tunnel design Ford Mustang. In fact, he won the last event on the NHRA Tour, the Southern Nationals in Atlanta, with a record equaling 5.73 elapsed time. In Top Fuel, the big news, Joe Amato. Remember Gainesville when he ran 262? Well, he upped that mark here to 263.92 miles an hour, and now everyone, including world champ Gary Beck, has copied that great big wing. Ask Amato, the man to beat, he'll tell you Beck, even though he's not qualified all that well. Most interesting car in Pro Stock, the brand new Ford Thunderbird of Bob Glidden. Glidden struggled with an ill-handling car all of '83, part of '84. This new car looks to be very, very fast. Glidden could do it all here today.
Thank you, Steve. The 1984 Cajun Nationals is being brought to you by Fabergé. Make every day your Brute Day with Brute by Fabergé. And by Meguiar's Car Wax. For over 50 years, Meguiar's quality waxes and polishes have been the choice of car care professionals. And by Goodyear, who invite you to say hello to Vector, the new design in all-season radial tires. The fastest Thunder found on any racetrack. Top Fuel Dragsters next.
Every Ferrari 308 leaving Italy for America leaves on Goodyear radial tires, and only Goodyear radial tires. Why? Because Mr. Ferrari wants it that way.
You can wax a car the hard way. Rubbing and rubbing, then buffing and buffing. Or wax the easy way with Meguiar's Fast Finish. Meguiar's waxes your car in just minutes with no buffing. Then enjoy a deep, beautiful shine even a professional would be proud of. Meguiar's Fast Finish No Buff Spray or No Buff Paste. The effortless way to a long-lasting professional shine.
The right tool for the right job. That's why I got Action's Miracle Driver. Miracle Driver attached to your drill becomes a sensational power-driven screwdriver for softwoods, solid oak, formica, even metal. And Miracle Driver removes screws, too. Set the depth dial for raised to countersunk screws. Forget this. Long screws, fat screws, nothing stops the Miracle Driver. When the job calls for driving screws, let Miracle Driver do the job.
Just $9.95 at these fine stores.
Hey, want to be the first person in the water this spring? Then come to Van Slyke's now for sensational savings on the pool of your choice. You save money and your family gets a full swim season. We have one of the largest selections of swimming pools in the area, and all at guaranteed lowest prices. Stop by Van Slyke's today or call for our preseason program. Wow, Bob, do you believe I made it all the way through that commercial without getting wet?
You want to bet? You like Van Slyke's?
Top Fuel Dragster Racing at the Cajun Nationals. The fastest cars in all of drag racing. And from the state of Michigan comes Dick LaHaye. He was the #8 qualifier running against the defending world champion Gary Beck, who qualified #4 in this 8-car field. Beck, out of Hemet, California, is considered the pre-race favorite, but was able only to qualify in the #4 spot. His competition from Lansing, Michigan, a professional drag racer, Dick LaHaye, the #8 qualifier. LaHaye's daughter serves as his crew chief, and she is backing him up into his own tracks after the burnout. The burnout designed to heat the tires to provide as much traction as possible. A very tricky racetrack here at State Capitol Dragway with the atmospheric conditions prominent in South Louisiana. Extreme heat, extreme humidity. It can change throughout the day. So the tuning of these engines plays a big role in performance at the finish line. Beck in the far lane, LaHaye in the near lane. A close race off the starting line, but the horsepower of Gary Beck's car pulling away at the finish. 5.64 seconds is winning time. His speed over 253 miles an hour at the end of the quarter mile. LaHaye suffering some problems on his run. As we watch again, you see LaHaye actually with a slight advantage, it appears, off the starting line. But then something going away right at that point. Beck wins it.
for Gary Beck, a 5.64 gets him through round one over Dick LaHaye. And as Gary knows over the years, this can be a very tricky racetrack, and I have a feeling that you were more afraid of overpowering it than anything else.
Yeah, we are, Steve. We're just trying to be real careful. What was the ET?
5.64.
Okay. Well, that's a fair start. We need a little performance here, though, too.
253 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's just kind of lumbering through is all it's doing.
5.64 at 253, just lumbering through. Well, that's the quickest man in drag racing talking Gary Beck. Here's his boss, Larry Miner. Miner is racing the #1 qualifier, Gary Ormsby from Roseville, California. It was a year ago on this racetrack that Larry Miner raced his driver, Gary Beck, in the final. And it was to have been Gary Beck winning the race. But let's watch again as we go back 1 year in time for the Top Fuel final. Larry Miner was in the far lane, Gary Beck in the near lane. Something went wrong with Gary Beck's car. Larry Miner shut it off, expecting Beck to thunder by, but there was no thunder that day, and a surprise winner, Larry Miner, a year ago. This year in the first round, Larry Miner has got to race the #1 qualifier, Gary Ormsby. Earlier, Steve Evans had a chance to talk with Ormsby.
Well, Gary, this is the second race in a row now you've qualified on the pole in Top Fuel. That's got to give you a lot of confidence.
Yeah, we struggled a little bit, Steve, earlier in qualifying, but we got it all together on that final and did what we wanted to do.
Well, you know your opponent here in the first round won't worry about breaking a motor to beat you.
No, Larry's very tough, and it should be a real good race, really.
You wonder if the problems they've had in that camp with the funny car and all might distract them a bit?
Well, I'm sure it didn't help, but they're a pretty professional group, and I think they can probably get it all together. We're looking for a pretty tough race first round.
Ormsby referring to the fact that Larry Miner owns not only the two Top Fuel dragsters, but also the funny car driven by Ed McCulloch, involved in that horrendous crash with John Collins that we saw just a few moments ago. The burnout's completed. The starting procedure's underway as they inch into the light beams at the starting line. Ormsby smoking the tires and Larry Miner pulling ahead in mid-track. And at the finish line, it is Larry Miner winning over the #1 qualifier, a 5.69 second elapsed time. His speed a slowing 220 miles an hour. He knew he had that race won. Our next car is coming out of the burnout area. Danny Donnell against the fastest car in all of drag racing, Joe Amato. Donnell, a former sand dragger from Hanford, California, moving on to the asphalt for his second season of championship drag racing. For Joe Amato, the only man ever to go over 263 miles an hour in a quarter of a mile. And as we saw a moment ago on Larry Miner's car, Joe Amato sporting funny car tires. Steve Evans asked him why.
It's got to seem a little strange to you still sitting in the cockpit and looking out at these great big funny car style front wheels.
Well, it's the safety factor, Steve. Definitely they're probably going to slow the car down a little bit on the speed and maybe even on the ET because it's a rolling weight, which is heavier by about 14 pounds compared to the tires we were running. But and there's more drag on the ground with the tires, but it's a safety factor. And we ran 263.92, which set the first leg of the record, and we pitched the tire off, broke this whole A-frame off the car, and almost crashed the car. And you know, it's no good. You can't come back the second round if you don't have the car intact. You know, that's important.
Joe Amato, the holder of the new speed record at over 263 miles an hour. But records mean nothing. Now it is competition. He who gets to the finish line first wins the race. And in this case, it is Joe Amato. His winning time, 5.65 seconds. Off pace a little bit with those big tires. 257 miles an hour. Danny Donnell back by about 2 car lengths at the finish line. Our next pair of cars already fired up at the starting line and sporting a brand new set of injectors on top of her engine. The former world champion, Shirley Muldowney, coming out of the water box. Her competition, getting his engine started and everything ready to go, is Connie Kalita, debuting a new car here at the Cajun Nationals. He's already been well over 250 miles an hour in qualifying. Coming out of the water box with the tires just blazing. Connie Kalita from Ypsilanti, Michigan, a 2-decade-long career in the sport of championship drag racing. Shirley Muldowney, multi-winner of the World Championship title, the first person ever to win a Top Fuel title more than one time. Kalita in the far lane, Muldowney in the near lane, and the crew working on Kalita's car. There's something wrong. They cannot get it to go forward. The transmission is stuck in reverse. These planetary gearboxes utilize a small reverser device that allows them to back up. As Shirley Muldowney pulls forward, Connie Kalita keeps going backwards. That's not the point of this game. It's to go forward into the finish line. The crew frantically working, trying to get the transmission into first gear, but thus far they have been unsuccessful. The starting line crew signaling to Shirley Muldowney to go forward, and now Connie has got it, but it is too late as the green light had come on for Shirley Muldowney. A possible overheating problem, and her engine explodes. You see the parts coming off the car. There's oil coming out from the blown engine as she slows the car to a halt, and now flames start licking out from underneath the back of the car. The hot headers catching the oil from the engine on fire as Kalita comes out of the car. He's obviously upset, but the concentration with these drivers so intense, when it ends in disappointment, somebody's bound to be just a bit upset. For Shirley, the body panel blown off on the right-hand side of the car when the engine exploded. It took that piece of aluminum and peeled it back. As we look again, you see the flames licking out from under the car. That's the oil from the engine burning. Shirley not in any particular danger as she has the car well under control and is able to pull it off the racetrack and bring it to a safe stop. An expensive way to win.
Well, Shirley Muldowney, I don't know if you could feel it in your forward location, but you had quite a fire going, young lady.
Yes, I knew it was good. It's sure a window in that thing, isn't there?
There certainly is. That's more than one connecting rod, I would guess. Have you got another engine you can put in?
We sure do, and it's a good one. Got two good ones.
At least had a chance. You got a gift there from Connie. You had a chance to try that left-hand lane. What do you think?
I think it was fine. I thought the car launched good. It was a little soggy in the mid-range, and we're trying to correct that, but what can I say? Had a little bit of luck.
Okay, so Shirley...
A bit of bad luck, too.
So Shirley Muldowney and crew, you can bet the engine hoist is already out in that camp.
Shirley Muldowney heads back to the pits to get ready to face Larry Minor in the semifinals as Gary Beck will be racing Joe Amato. We'll be back to the Cajun Nationals with funny car racing in just a moment.
When I played football, I had a lot of great days. I call them my lucky brute days. Now I've traded in my shoulder pads and helmet, but one part of my wardrobe hasn't changed. Brute cologne. You know why? Because in my new line of work, I still get called upon to throw passes. My receivers are a lot better looking.
Cut! You have to do it again, Joe.
Today's your brute day. It's your lucky brute day. Today.
You don't run million-dollar experiments with a cheaply made oil filter. The filter in this advanced motor car, Motorcraft FL1A, engineered to outperform. Motorcraft FL1A lasts longer, traps more abrasives than any other leading filter. Quality parts for all makes of cars. Motorcraft exceeds the need.
The bumps, cuts, burns, and sprains of living can now be treated quickly and inexpensively at St. Vincent Express Care.
I was paying more attention to the kids than the can opener.
St. Vincent Express Care has total medical facilities and is staffed with emergency-trained physicians. And should your minor problems be major, all of St. Vincent Hospital is here to serve you.
Can I play football?
We treat you with special care.
2 weeks, you're as good as new.
The CIA is here. Yes, the Central Indiana Association of Kawasaki Dealers. The Indy 500 represents excellence in auto racing. Kawasaki represents excellence in motorcycles. The Touring Voyager, the most luxurious motorcycle today. The Ninja Sports Bike, Kawasaki's new generation of performance. Kawasaki Cruisers, all new 700 and 1100 LTDs. The Kawasaki Dirt Bike, the winningest motocrossers on the amateur circuit. And the Kawasaki three-wheelers featuring the exclusive rear axle differential. See these and all the other Kawasaki's at your nearby participating Kawasaki dealer.
At the Cajun Nationals, I'm Dave McClelland along with Steve Evans, joining an overflow crowd at State Capitol Dragway, watching as defending funny car champion Al Segrini gets ready for this round of competition. His mind's got to be on the race, but he's also got to be thinking about what happened to some of his friends in qualifying. As we watch again, John Collins in the far lane, Ed McCulloch in the near lane, driving Larry Minor's car, lost control, took a dead right-hand turn and slammed into the side of John Collins. Both cars turned over. McCulloch on top of the guardrail, then flipping onto his top, coming back across the racetrack as Collins sliding upside down. McCulloch jamming the front end of his vehicle into the guardrail, the fuel tank exploding, both drivers and cars engulfed in flames. The cars coming to a bouncing, grinding halt with the flames and the smoke cloud rising high in the air. John Collins' car with a split fuel tank. You see right at the front the raw fuel pumping out of that tank, but miraculously it never caught fire. If there was ever a testimony to the safety of drag racing and the rules requirement, it was this accident, as both drivers under their own power came out of their cars. That was in qualifying. This is round number 2 racing, and our defending champion, Al Segrini, getting set for this round of competition. He is racing a virtual unknown in the sport of funny cars, Jim Head. From the ranks of competition eliminator through alcohol dragsters, top fuel dragsters, and now the nitro-burning funny cars, Jim Head of Columbus, Ohio, is making his progression to a professional drag racer. His competition, Al Segrini, has been a professional racer for a number of years. The funny cars, fiberglass replicas of late-model American-made automobiles, utilizing those 2,500 horsepower nitro engines that we saw just a few moments ago in the top fuel dragsters. Both cars are ready. The lights turn green, and it is Jim Head off first. Head extending his lead in the middle of the course. Segrini shuts it off, and it is Jim Head advancing another round into the semifinals. A big upset. The defending champion Al Segrini going down to defeat Jim Head at over 245 miles an hour. Our next pair of cars now getting the word to start the engines. A squirt of gasoline into the injector. The electric starter motor attached to the supercharger, spinning the engine over. The nitro-burning motor coming to life. The crew checking everything over, making sure all the shutoff valves are properly in their place. The body coming down, pinned into place. And the race car is ready for the quarter-mile track. Jim White at the wheel of Dick Maritz's car from Oklahoma out of the city of Tulsa. The burnouts done by every car in championship drag racing, while spectacular for the fans, have a purpose. As Dale Faldy approaches the water and fries the tires. The reason, to get the tire temperature as hot as possible. That provides the maximum traction available. Jim White out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, driving for car owner Dick Moritz. From Granada Hills, California, comes Dale Faldy. He drives for his partner, Mike Hamby. Dale Faldy has got to be considered the favorite in this race against Jim White, but as we've seen thus far, being the favorite does not guarantee a win. Let's go to Steve.
Well, Jim Head said earlier he'd settle for one of those 590s. That is exactly what you got. A 99, I believe.
My first 5.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
And also your first semifinal in a funny car.
Yes, it is.
Did you think it would come this soon, only your second big NHRA race?
I really hoped it would. I mean, you need brakes and you need to go down the track, and we're trying to do both. But, you know, I'm definitely getting the brakes.
Back at the starting line, it's Jim White in the near lane, Dale Faldy in the far lane. This is second round of funny car racing at the Cajun Nationals. The tree goes green, and both cars off the line. Jim White up in smoke. Not enough traction for the Moritz car as Dale Faldy goes through, but there may have been some problems, some ominous-looking smoke coming out of the car as Dale Faldy crosses the finish line. And for Jim White, a disappointing way to end the great day of racing for the Moritz and White team. Our next pair of cars already running. A pair of Fords, and very sleek they are. This is the car of Billy Meyer. One of the hottest funny cars on the trail today, fresh out of the wind tunnel. And Billy's car, qualifying very well at this Cajun Nationals event, is racing one of the best in the business, Kenny Bernstein in the near lane. Bernstein driving an 84 Ford Tempo-bodied car, also spent some time in the Ford wind tunnel. So the car of Bernstein and Billy Meyer's Mustang, two of the sleekest creations ever to grace a quarter-mile racing surface. Wind tunnel testing, one of the newest innovations in championship drag racing. Earlier, Steve took a close-up look at Meyer's Mustang.
The first thing the wind tunnel test told Billy Meyer and crew was to seal up these side windows. Where before they were either wide open or a short abbreviated window, they're now sealed with Lexan plastic. Certainly not as comfortable for Billy inside the car, but no sacrifice too great for a quicker elapsed time. The next thing they learned, the car was surrounded by turbulent air, dirty air, the engineers call it. So they added around the front the aluminum lip and also down the sides. This forces the air over the car instead of under it, making for better aerodynamics. They also cleaned up and streamlined the front fender wells to force the air around the car instead of through it. At the back of the car, they really learned some things. They've long had these spoilers at the back, but you can see by the old holes here where the former spoiler was bolted, there was very little air in here. They were not getting the downforce they wanted. The wind tunnel told them, out here is where the air is. So they have re-engineered this entire spoiler, and it really works. Also have streamlined the rear fender wells as well. And the next step for the next race, Billy says, is to seal the bottom of the car, a ground effects tunnel, much like a road racer might have. Did all of this work? Well, Billy Meyer rolled out of the wind tunnel and won his very next race with a record equaling 5:73 elapsed time. You bet it works.
Billy Meyer and his Mustang, one of the hottest cars going today on the funny car circuit in championship drag racing, but he's tangling with one of the toughest, and that is Kenny Bernstein in the near lane. Both of them out of the wind tunnel, the Tempo in the near lane, the Mustang in the far lane. Let's see who gets through the air quickest, and losing traction is Bernstein, and Meyer to the finish line first. Wins the race. It is Billy Meyer advancing into the semifinals. There's the speed, 250 miles an hour, 5.94 seconds, the amount of time it takes to cover a quarter of a mile from a standing start. Here's the hometown favorites, Mark Oswald at the wheel of the #1 qualified car, Candies and Hughes. They're from Houma, Louisiana, only about 70 miles away from Baton Rouge. For Tim Gross, he's got the dubious distinction of qualifying #5. That means, in the way the pairings go, he has to run that #1 qualifier, Mark Oswald. The team of Candies and Hughes, with their latest driver, Oswald, have been racing out of South Louisiana for over 20 years. For Tim Gross, a racer that is based now in Saugus, California, one of the rising superstars in the sport of funny car racing. Tim Gross, his car, a Pontiac Trans Am-bodied creation, as is the entry of Candies and Hughes. Very sleek, very low to the ground. And as we saw in that look at Billy Meyer's car, aerodynamics beginning to play a very critical role. Both drivers stage, and it's a great race off the starting line, but the power of Candies and Hughes making the difference at the finish. It is Mark Oswald winning a great time, 5.88 seconds, and look at the speed, 257 miles an hour. The #1 qualifier and the hometown favorite, Mark Oswald, will be racing the underdog Jim Head in the semifinals. Dale Baldy goes against Billy Meyer at the Cajun Nationals.
Budweiser salutes the coaches and trainers of the 1984 U.S. Olympic team.
Nice job.
To the U.S. Olympic coaches and trainers, the team behind the team, this Bud's for you. When your car starts acting up, it's really trying to tell you something. What it's saying is, take me to Goodyear. Goodyear Auto Service can add years to the life of your car because Goodyear knows your car from the ground up.
My Goodyear technicians can do everything from scheduled maintenance to most emergency repairs. And I've got this, the name you can trust for auto service.
Goodyear tires and auto service for more Goodyears in your car.
Hello, I'm Lloyd Walker in downtown Greenwood. Right now, you can save 40 to 65% on famous brand name gifts for Father's Day, like Pincord and Tropical Suits for only $89.90, Solid and Fancy Sport Coats for $49.90, $50 Eagle Flex Slacks for just $29.90, $18 short sleeve dress shirts for only $7.90, designer ties, regular $17.50, now only $6. Once you shop Lloyd Walker's way, you'll never pay full retail again.
Take it from Dave Lennox. You can heat and cool your home with just one unit, our energy-efficient 2-speed heat pump. It automatically downshifts to a lower speed to meet your comfort needs and save you energy and dollars, too. Call one of these independent Lennox dealers today. Call Gene or Gary Sylvester for the experience that really makes the difference. Let Sylvester's be your heating and air conditioning dealer. Call the Dyson team, Lex and Odie. Dyson cares. Dyson saves you money. Right, Lex? Right, Odie?
Right, Dave.
Back at the Cajun Nationals at Baton Rouge, Louisiana, as you recall, we thought there may have been some problems with Dale Baldy's car in the last round of Funny Car. Let's join Steve and find out.
Here at Dale Baldy's pits, he and his partner Mike Hamby have taken a parts inventory, and the decision is what?
We're not going to go up for the next round. It's we can't really pinpoint the problem of what's going on, why the car keeps it's burning bearings out of it. It's not an oiling problem. We think it's a problem somewhere in the clutch or the tune-up or something like that. And it's plagued us this weekend. It's plagued us on and off before. And we're just going to take everything all apart and see if we can go through with a fine-tooth comb and see if we can find the problem.
Before you have a fire.
Yeah, I already had one here not too long ago for the same thing. And I lost one car. This car doesn't rightfully belong to us. We're borrowing it till our other car is going to be finished in about 3 weeks. And I hate to take a brand new car and turn around and give it to this guy and have to build another one. But I just don't want to see anything bad happen out of it. We've been very fortunate, and I think we just better call it quits for the weekend.
A big break for Billy Meyer. He'll get a bye run. In addition to the professional racing that we've been covering here at the Cajun Nationals, there has been sportsman competition throughout the weekend. The sportsman categories include all types of cars. The racing very close, in some cases, actually handicap racing, where one car gets a physical head start over the other. In stock eliminator, Harvey Emmons III from Pasadena, Texas, driving his Camaro, defeated Mike Cotton of Tulsa, Oklahoma in the final for stock eliminator. In super stock eliminator, Larry Morgan at the wheel of his Pontiac Trans Am in the near lane matched off against Jackie Ray Pascal from Pasadena, Texas. Morgan out of Columbus, Ohio squeezes out the win at the finish to take home the super stock eliminator title. In super gas eliminator, a red light in the starting line for Roger Warren gave the win automatically to Eli Lopez from Irving, Texas. The dragster of Gary Wenzel in the far lane, racing against the opal of Roy Johnson. Wenzel from Indiana, Johnson from Tennessee. This is competition eliminator, and Gary Wenzel is the winner. In top alcohol funny car racing, Dave Sebring of Kent, Ohio, won his first ever NHRA national event title, defeating Bob Newberry of Schenectady, New York. In the sister category of top alcohol, dragster Dennis Forcell won his second NHRA national event title, defeating Bubba Sewell. Forcell from Minneapolis, Minnesota, Sewell from Spring, Texas. A close race at the finish line. Dennis Forcell, the champion. In our final sportsman category, we find Tom Bowling in the far lane from Seminole, Oklahoma at the wheel of his dragster, losing out to Rodney Horton from Fort Worth, Texas in another very close race. Rodney Horton, your Super Comp Eliminator champion. We'd like to offer our congratulations to all of the Sportsman Eliminator champions at this 1984 edition of the Cajun Nationals Championship. Let's go to the Top Fuel pit area and join Steve Evans.
Ron Tobler, John Muldowney, and the Shirley Muldowney crew are so good at changing engines. They do it so quickly that by the time we got here, the new motor was already in. Ron, why this particular engine? You had your choice of a few.
Well, we had two in the trailer, but this particular one was a little more complete than the other one. It had a clutch and a bell housing, so it was a little more ready to go. It's our #1 spare.
Anytime you go to the starting line with an untested motor between rounds like this or during a race, what concerns you the most? What can go wrong the quickest?
To tell you the truth, Steve, there's not a whole lot really, because it's a motor that we've run before, but we took it apart, put it back in the trailer, so it should perform just like it did the last time we ran it.
We'll be watching for the Muldowney car as we get into Top Fuel racing a bit later on, but right now the factory hot rods are in the water box. Bob Glidden driving his brand new Ford Thunderbird, and we took a look at that car at the start of this program. Bob Glidden from Whiteland, Indiana, the winningest drag racer ever in NHRA championship competition. Here's another tough one, the defending world champion, Lee Shepard from Arlington, Texas, driving the Chevy Camaro of Rare and Morrison, proudly wearing the big #1 on the side of that Camaro. This is the classic factory struggle. The Ford versus the Chevrolet. The engine's limited to 500 cubic inches. 2 carburetors. They must run on gasoline. Total weight of the car with driver, 2,350 pounds. After that, practically anything goes. And it's a red light for Bob Glidden. He puts himself out of competition, and Lee Shepard takes the win to advance to the finals of Pro Stock Eliminator. Shepard with a 7.81 second elapsed time at 176 miles an hour wins the race. We watch again at the start, and you can see Bob Glidden leaving just a hair too soon, and that big red light indicates just that. He left too soon. Here's the other matchup in the semifinals. From Totowa, New Jersey comes Frank Iaconio in the near lane. From Blacklick, Ohio, Butch Leal, formerly known as the California Flash, now driving for the Rod Shop. Frank Iaconio, number 2 in the world last season out of his home base in Totowa, New Jersey, is making a strong bid to take home the World Championship this season. But he has got to get past Butch Leal, and Leal has the advantage off the starting line. Iaconio drifting close to the center line. He backs out of it, and it is Butch Leal going into the finals with the Pontiac Trans Am. A big upset as Iaconio down to defeat 7.86 seconds, a speed of 178. So it is Butch Leal against Lee Shepard in the finals of Pro Stock Eliminator, coming up shortly at the Cajun Nationals in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Next up, the semifinals of Funny Car Eliminator.
A new design in radial tires is rolling your way from Goodyear. Say hello to Vector.
Oh, Vector? You fellas ever seen a tread like that?
Goodyear's new Vector has a unique tread.
Crisscross curves. What are they for?
Traction. All-season traction in snow and rain.
Well, move it along, Vector.
Plus, outstanding mileage down the road. Say hello to the new design in radial tires.
Vector? This is our director.
Vector, the new radial design from Goodyear.
This man put his shirt on this morning, but he stayed fresh, dry, and nice to be next to all day. Because before he put his shirt on, he put on Brute 33, the powerful antiperspirant solid that helps keep you drier than any deodorant. And it has the great smell of Brute. Remember, use Brute solid before you put your shirt on, and stay dry long after it comes off.
Brute 33 antiperspirants keep you drier than any deodorant.
Plainfield Furniture has good news and bad news. The bad news for them, they are forced to liquidate. Yes, Plainfield Furniture must close their doors forever. The good news for you, every quality piece of furniture must be sold immediately, so you'll save 50, 60, up to 70% now during Plainfield's going on a business sale. Don't miss Plainfield's sensational going on a business sale. Everything must be sold to the bare walls. Open every day, every evening, and Sunday. Financing available. Plainfield Furniture, Plainfield, Indiana. Going out of business.
We are Pepsi-free, caffeine-free.
Now Diet Pepsi-free has NutraSweet. Life just seems to get better and better.
Diet Pepsi-free.
Diet Pepsi-free just added something they call NutraSweet. I call it terrific.
Diet Pepsi-free.
Diet Pepsi-free with NutraSweet. Everything in life should be this good.
And all that taste is caffeine-free.
Terrific.
We are Pepsi-free.
Regular and diet.
Funny car racing at the Cajun Nationals, the semifinal round of competition in the hometown favorite, Mark Oswald, the #1 qualifier at the wheel of the Candies and Hughes Pontiac. He is racing against the upstart, the underdog, Jim Head. He's got a lot of experience on the racetrack. He has great equipment under him. In fact, he does a lot of the work himself. The two cars virtually identical. The same chassis builder, Al Swindle, responsible for the design of both cars. So, it is a lot of experience at the hands of Candies and Hughes. The driver, Mark Oswald, having been down that racetrack many a time in both Top Fuel and Funny Car competition. For Jim Head, not quite the experience level that is there with that Candies and Hughes entry, but he is in the semifinals. It doesn't matter to him how he got there, and it is Mark Oswald up in smoke. Jim Head extending his lead into the finish line, and what an upset. The #1 qualifier down to defeat Jim Head, a very safe 6.08 seconds at 245 miles an hour, as we watch again and see exactly how Mark Oswald lost. A little bit of a wheel stand and then instant tire smoke. The car losing traction, and all Mark Oswald could do is keep it straight, keep it from hitting the guardrail, and watch Jim Head win the race and move into his first ever NHRA Funny Car Final. A huge crowd stunned stunned by the upset as the #1 qualifier and the big favorite going down to defeat at the hands of Jim Head. So it will be Jim Head against this car in the finals. Billy Meyer receiving a bye run. Dale Palde pulling out because of mechanical problems. Continual difficulties with the engine on the Henby-Palde car puts him out of competition, giving Billy Meyer the single. The all-important question here is, will Billy Meyer run this car hard in this round of racing? He does not have to, but if he has the low elapsed time over the 6:08 of Jim Head, he gets lane choice in the final. A great run thus far. Billy Meyer headed to the finish line, and there it is. Low elapsed time for funny cars, 5.81 seconds. Billy Meyer has lane choice in the final. Let's go to Steve with Jim Head.
Your crew is going to be very, very excited. Now's the time you're going to have to calm everybody down and take a very careful approach to the prep for this final.
They're good. They really are. I mean, they're not the known names, but believe me, they're very, very good. Well, they're the only reason I'm here. There's no question about it.
May not have a lot of flashy chrome or a corporate logo on the side, but it's in the final, and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Jim Head, one more round to go.
Top Fuel Eliminator semifinals. Joe Amato, the fastest car in all of drag racing. His wife, Jerry, backing him up into his own tracks. Joe Amato, in qualifying, ran over 263 miles an hour at this event and set a new NHRA national record in the process. As you recall, Joe Amato was running funny car wheels and tires in the first round of competition, but here against the pre-race favorite, Gary Beck, Amato has taken off those big wide tires and put back on the slender, narrow racing tires that he normally uses, trying to gain that little bit of an advantage. Gary Beck out in front. Something goes wrong with Joe Amato's car, and Gary Beck into the finals for the second year in a row, and look at that elapsed time, 5.53 seconds, and a very sad Jerry Amato watching her husband go out with mechanical failure, done for the day. Let's go down to Steve Evans, who's with Billy Meyer.
Now you have to be concerned with the track changing. Is if it cools off a little bit before the final, it could be another ball game yet again.
Well, I think what we did that last run, Steve, I don't think that anything could screw us up now, except me or my guys, and hopefully we're okay.
Okay, Billy, good luck.
Billy Meyer, the decided favorite going into the finals of Funny Car Eliminator against Jim Head. The winner of this race will decide who meets Gary Beck in the finals of Top Fuel. Will it be Shirley Baldowny with a brand new engine sitting between the frame rails, or will it be the car owner of Gary Beck's car, Larry Minor? Minor won this race. He is the defending champion, and it appears that he has changed front wheels and tires also, going to the slender, skinny front tires, trying to gain every bit of performance advantage. Larry Minor in the far lane, Shirley Baldowny in the near lane. The cars inching their way ever so slowly into those staging beams. And the tree goes green with Larry Minor out in front. And Minor pulling away to a big lead in the engine. Let's go. You can see the supercharger shedding parts as he comes through the timing traps. 5.59 seconds. His speed, 253 miles an hour. But a very surprising and unusual engine explosion for Larry Minor. As he approaches the speed traps at the finish line, the supercharger literally explodes. If you've ever wondered what it looks like from the other driver's point of view at over 250 miles an hour, watch from Shirley Baldowny's viewpoint as the engine explodes for Larry Minor. Lots of problems for the Minor crew.
Boy, Larry, that must have had your ears ringing for sure.
This is getting to be an expensive sport.
That's a lot of superchargers this year.
Yeah, that's 2 at this race for me, plus the one in Ed's car.
Now, the final round, you would race your guy, Gary Beck. Would you bother to fix this car?
Oh, I think the fans deserve another engine in this thing.
All right, you heard it from Larry Minor. We'll have a 2-car final.
Steve, that 2-car final is just like it was last year. Car owner Larry Minor, his driver Gary Beck. That's the Top Fuel final coming up in just a few moments at the Cajun Nationals.
This high-energy experimental car stays efficient only if its spark plugs stay alive. Plugs capable of surviving surges to 38,000 volts, Motorcraft. Extended tip. Engineered to conserve fuel, Motorcraft Extended Tip ruthlessly eliminates power-blocking sooty carbon without eliminating itself in the process. Quality parts for all makes of cars. Motorcraft exceeds the need.
This Bud's for everyone who takes the power and sends it down the line.
This Bud's for you. For all you do, the king of beers is coming through.
Yeah, just for you. That distinctively clean, crisp taste that says Budweiser.
For all you do, this Bud's for you.
The right tool for the right job. That's why I got Action's Miracle Driver. Miracle Driver attached to your drill becomes a sensational power-driven screwdriver for softwoods, solid oak, formica, even metal. And Miracle Driver removes screws, too. Set the depth dial for raised to countersunk screws. Forget this. Long screws, fat screws, nothing stops the Miracle Driver. When the job calls for driving screws, let Miracle Driver do the job.
Just $9.95 at these fine stores.
Wet basement problems. A wet basement can cause you problems like damaging furnaces, water heaters, washers, and dryers. B-Dry can help. B-Dry has 26 years experience, 23,000 basements fully guaranteed, free estimates. And most important, B-Dry encourages you to talk to any of their customers. Call now 783-6990 for an appointment. B-Dry will give you names and phone numbers of homeowners whose wet basements are now dry permanently. Call B-Dry System today and B-Dry 783-6990.
Time for the finals in the professional categories of championship drag racing at the Cajun Nationals. We'll start with Pro Stock Eliminator. The Chevrolet, the #1 car in the world champion, Lee Shepard, against the #10 finisher last season. That's Butch Leal at the wheel of a Pontiac Trans Am. Both cars virtually identical in body style, some trim differences. Lee Shepard looking over at Butch Leal, making sure he is ready to do the burnout. They come out of the water box together. These are highly sophisticated race cars with their 500 cubic inch gasoline burning engines, capable of propelling these cars at speeds upwards of 184 miles an hour. This class has been dominated by Lee Shepard for the past several years. #10 in the world, Butch Leal, while he finished in the top 10, it's got to be considered a major upset to see him in the finals against Lee Shepard. But the class beginning to equalize itself out. The cars very similar in both design and in their power plants. It now depends a lot on the driver. The staging procedures are completed, and it's a red light start for Butch Leal. The win automatically goes to Lee Shepard, and he wins another Cajun Nationals championship. Shepard driving the Camaro at 7.75 seconds at over 181 miles an hour, winning for his car owners and partners, David Rare and Buddy Morrison. It's time for Funny Cars. Jim Head in the near lane. We told you this is the underdog, without question. One of the rising stars in the sport, but this only his second major championship event at the wheel of a funny car. For Billy Meyer, he started his racing career at the age of 16 over a decade ago. He has driven nothing but funny cars. Billy Meyer with the newest innovations out of the wind tunnel from the Ford Motor Company at the wheel of that Mustang, established low elapsed time for funny cars in the previous round, therefore getting the lane choice and taking that right lane. Let's go to Steve Evans with Lee Shepard.
Lee Shepard makes another giant step towards what could be a third consecutive world championship. You've won the Cajun Nationals. I don't know if you know it, but Butch red lighted.
I saw it that time, Steve.
I can hear him in the background. He didn't see it.
Well, yeah, sometimes it's hard to see him depending on how the sun is and all that. But, whew, yeah, I just feel fortunate. I just can't believe the luck we have at this race.
What kind of luck? Obviously good, but what type?
Yeah, not having anything go wrong with the car and having, you know, the other drivers just happen to, you know, make the mistake against us. That's not something you have much control over.
Well, I think your credentials impress them so much they occasionally get a little over-anxious, as apparently Butch did.
Well, we've done the same thing.
Congratulations, Pro Stock champion of the Cajun National. Lee Shepard does it again.
The final of Funny Car Eliminator, Billy Meyer. We've talked about the wind tunnel. Steve has taken you on a tour of this very sleek Mustang body. But it has been a quantum leap in performance for Meyer ever since he has undergone the rigorous testing program that put this car into the winner's circle at a number of events, including one just a few weeks ago when he won the Southern Nationals Championship down in Atlanta, Georgia, for Jim Head, his first ever NHRA National Event Final. Not only has the thought of the car and the performance got to be going through his mind, but also, can he defeat Billy Meyer? He's got to be thinking about that. A close lead by both drivers, and Jim Head right with him. Billy Meyer trying to pull ahead, and he finally does by a car length. Billy Meyer winning the Cajun Nationals Championship. An outstanding performance by Billy Meyer. The time for Meyer at 5.92 seconds, but close behind at 6.01 was Jim Head, in a very creditable performance by the underdog. As the tree goes green, both cars launch off the starting line together. You see a lot of dust. That is the dust coming off the clutch discs, which are sliding, allowing the car to launch hard without spinning the tires. Halfway through the course, Billy Meyer with about a half a car length lead. But he begins to pull ahead, just inching ahead. And at the finish line, it is a Cajun Nationals Championship for Billy Meyer.
So Billy Meyer makes it 2 in a row, winning the funny car category here at the Cajun Nationals after winning the previous race, the Southern Nationals in Atlanta, Georgia. Not coming up with the record elapsed times of Atlanta, but certainly enough to defeat a valiant effort by Jim Head. Billy Meyer, congratulations. That will put you in a virtual deadlock with Kenny Bernstein for the World Championship chase.
I appreciate it. Oh, thank heaven for 7-Eleven. Takes that kind of money to be able to do this kind of racing, and it's without the people like Chief and Sid going 7-Eleven and Valvoline, you just can't do it.
Sure, you're holding your breath in a race like that, just praying those tires stick.
That's the same thing I shifted and just said, as long as it doesn't break, now we should do okay. And the thing's going so straight since we went to Ford Wind Tunnel, everything's working perfect.
All right, we can hear in the background, Billy Meyer, it's the Top Fuel Final, the Gary and Larry show. Let's watch it, huh, you and I?
Yeah, I'm pretty interested. As a matter of fact, I rented them our spare car for Columbus after McCullough crashed earlier. So we're going to have two cars at, excuse me, we're going to have two cars at Columbus, but I won't have to worry about the other one. Just have 7-Eleven's Chief's name on it.
By the way, congratulations again.
Thank you very much.
Billy Meyer, the funny car champion, interested in the Top Fuel Final, and we are too, as the Larry and Gary show. Larry Miner in the near lane, Gary Beck in the far lane. Larry, the defending champion, Gary, his hired driver. A year ago, it was to have been Gary Beck to win the race, but as we saw earlier, something went wrong with the car. Larry Miner shut it off, as he was supposed to do, to allow Gary to win the race, but not to be. It was Larry Miner, the champion, a year ago. The question on everyone's mind, will this be a race? Will the #1 car, Gary Beck, continue his march for a second Top Fuel Championship in a row? Or will fate play a role again, and Larry Miner, who finished #8 in the world last season, come out the victor once again? In the near lane, Larry Miner with a brand new engine. In the far lane, Gary Beck. The two cars identically painted, and it is Miner out first, but Beck coming on in the middle of the course, and it's a race. Beck pulls away at the finish line and wins the Cajun Nationals Championship, 5.62 seconds. His speed over 252 miles an hour. The team owner, Larry Miner, finishing in the runner-up spot. And with all the difficulties of the Ed McCullough crash, the Larry Miner team doing very well at this Cajun Nationals. As we watch again, you can see Larry Miner pulling away ever so slightly at the starting line. But then the horsepower of the Gary Beck machine begins to show. And it shows particularly in the middle of the course, where he extends his lead over the boss and takes the win. And that all-important points total, leading to another world championship.
Well, you're not seeing double down here. They're just dressed identically. The boss, Larry Miner, congratulating Gary Beck for winning it with a 5.62 final laps time. Larry Miner in the 5.90s. And Gary Beck, who, as you well know, is a defending world champion, gets a badly needed victory in his first of the 84 season. Of course, continuing to compile points towards the world championship. Congratulations. You've won the Cajuns before, but this one has got to be especially delicious.
Yeah, well, it's been a long weekend, certainly with our problems we had earlier in the race, but getting both cars in the final and racing was, good. We're glad we got a good run for the fans, and it's not easy to get two cars together side by side and put on a race, but it's a lot of credit to all our crew, Bernie Federle, and all the crew that's with us, all 16 of them that are here this weekend.
And our congratulations, too, for going to that extra effort, which all of you did to put on a two-car race here, and there's no question that you two guys raced for this one.
Yeah, well, we try to, it's a big job back there, and we're real happy to win, I'm sure. I'm real glad for Billy Meyer, and it's that he's got in. He's a good friend of ours. That the Light All-Stars are back.
Oh, I'll say they are. Gary Beck, look out. He could do it again in 84.
Steve, our congratulations to Larry and Gary, to Billy Meyer and to Lee Shepard, the professional champions at the Cajun Nationals. We'll be right back to State Capitol Dragway in just a moment.
You can wax a car the hard way. Rubbing and rubbing, then buffing and buffing. Or wax the easy way with Meguiar's Fast Finish. Meguiar's waxes your car in just minutes with no buffing. Then enjoy a deep, beautiful shine even a professional would be proud of. Meguiar's Fast Finish No Buff Spray or No Buff Paste. The effortless way to a long-lasting professional shine.
A new design in radial tires is rolling your way from Goodyear. Say hello to Vector.
Hi, Vector. Far-looking tread.
Goodyear's new Vector has a unique tread.
Crisscross curves. What are they for?
Traction. All-season traction in rain and snow.
Just what we need around here, Vector.
Plus outstanding mileage down the road. Say hello to the new design in radial tires.
Sir, it's Vector from the private sector.
Vector, the new radial design from Goodyear.
It's the 4th annual Citywide Auto Tent Sale. Now through Saturday night, the largest auto sale in America is going on in Indianapolis. At Lafayette Square, Washington Square, Castleton Square, and Southern Plaza, the Indianapolis Auto Trade Association and 34 Indianapolis new car dealers are offering virtually every make and model of domestic and imported new cars, used cars, vans, and trucks. Over 5,000 in all. Sale hours 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Financing and delivery on the spot. Now through Saturday night at Lafayette Square, Washington Square, Castleton Square, and Southern Plaza.
It's Red Brush Park. Get away for a fun-filled day at Red Brush Park.
Come to the fun in southern Indiana. Come to Red Brush Park in Seymour. Recreation and amusements for the whole family. Now open daily. There's no place like Red Brush Park for family fun. Come to the fun in southern Indiana. Call 812-497-2480 for information and reservations. Red Brush Park, Seymour, Indiana.
Red Brush Park.
Just when you thought you had seen it all at the Cajun Nationals. For Steve Evans, this is Dave McClellan saying so long from Baton Rouge and reminding you to be tuned for coverage of our next program, the Spring Nationals from Columbus, Ohio. The executive producer of Diamond V Sports is Harvey M. Palish. Produced and directed by John B. Mullen. The 1984 Cajun Nationals have been brought to you by Goodyear. Goodyear tires and Goodyear service for more good years in your car. And by Budweiser, the king of beers, and proud sponsor of the U.S. Olympic team. For all you do, this Bud's for you. And by Motorcraft, quality parts for all makes of cars and trucks. Motorcraft exceeds the need. Promotional considerations provided for and a fee paid by Popeyes, delicious freeze-at-home treat assorted fruit flavors. 12 bars per box. Treat your youngsters with refreshing Popeyes. And by Schick. Team up with Schick Pros and get a free NBA pivoting razor when you buy a specifically marked pack of Schick Super 2. And meet the new single-serving size of Welch's Concord Grape Juice and Welch's White Grape Juice, 100% juice made Welch's way. And by Mentholatum Deep Heating Rub or Lotion, penetrating relief to soothe minor arthritis pain for hours. There's no beating deep heating. And by Flavor Ice, America's favorite quick freeze fruit-flavored bars, 24 giant bars in a package, assorted delicious flavors. Flavor Ice for cool refreshment. Coverage of the National Hot Rod Association's 1984 Cajun Nationals has been a presentation of Diamond V Sport.